In the meantime, rebel fighters in Syria have found vast stockpiles of an illegal amphetamine called captagon in several warehouses in and around Damascus. Captagon was the cornerstone of a narcotics trafficking ring that was run by relatives and associates of Bashar al-Assad, turning the country effectively into a narco state. To talk more about it, I'm joined here in the studio by our science editor, Julia Seeger. Tell us more, Julia, about this drug.
So captagon is a synthetic drug, as you said. It's composed mainly of phenytoin, which is a type of amphetamine. And it's also nicknamed, you might have heard this, the poor man's drug or the jihadist's drug. And its effects are actually quite similar to that of cocaine, even though it's lesser, acting mainly on the central nervous system and increasing concentration. Now, it actually looks like it's an off-white color, and there's two half moons engraved on them. As you can see here, the two half moons are actually C's. And originally, the name captagon comes from a drug that was actually legal. It was a psychotropic drug that was marketed in the 60s, and it was banned in the 80s because of its dangerous side effects. But the version of the drug that the HTC is finding on the ground in all of these devastated, dilapidated warehouses and factories, it's also called captagon, but with a lowercase c. And this version contains a mixture of amphetamines, indeed, but also caffeine and other types of fillers that are easier and cheaper to obtain. And in reality, we think that hundreds of millions of tablets have been smuggled into other Middle Eastern countries. In recent years, it was hidden in hollowed out fruits, but also canned vegetables, cargo containers, and all sorts of other items. Now, at the head of this narco trafficking ring is indeed Bashar al-Assad's family and relatives, but also businessmen. Hezbollah as well was included in it. And it was the largest production and distribution of captagon in the world, mainly sending these capsules into Saudi Arabia, the UAE, as you can see here, Jordan, a little bit in Europe as well. But it really very quickly becomes Syria's first export product and its financial mana.
So how did it all come about? How was it organised exactly?
Well, it started at the beginning of the Syrian civil war in 2011. Rebel groups at the time created this ring because they were trying to finance their arms purchases. But gradually, the regime of Bashar al-Assad was able to infiltrate and take control of this trafficking ring. And that's the way they found to replenish the state coffers and also their own pockets, of course, as well, because Syria was under economic sanctions, as you may recall. Now, according to the New York Times, by 2011, much of the production and the distribution was overseen by the Syrian Army's 4th Armored Division, which was headed by the brother of Bashar al-Assad. And as I said, there was other businessmen, very eminent businessmen in the country, Hezbollah as well. Now, we knew all of this. It was actually very well documented, notably by the New Lines Institute, which is a terrific report on this. And they actually found that this trade, they generated nearly $6 billion in 2021. So it was a very lucrative business indeed.
The new group, or rather the head of the new group of the country, HTS, has promised, and I quote, purify Syria of this synthetic drug. Are they going to actually succeed, Julia?
Well, that remains to be seen, but the HTS is indeed, we've seen them starting to burn these stockpiles in the street to show that they're ready to tackle this issue. And they could be in a similar position than that of the Taliban when they took over in Afghanistan, when they tried to ban the cultivation of poppy seed to tackle the issue of opium. And the problem is that just like in Syria now, there was this sudden ban which created a loss of income. So poppy cultivation collapsed by 95% in 2023. So it was a huge drop. And of course, at the same time, production, export also collapsed, and farmers' incomes as well. And so now the Taliban is thinking about authorizing poppy culture again, even partially, because it was just too sudden. And so to avoid peasant revolts, they might authorize it again. And the HTC could find itself in a similar position. There's going to be another difficulty of other groups in Syria. They could want to take control of this very lucrative business. You have the Kurds in the north, but you also have rebels in the south.
Julia Seeger, thank you so much for that.